30 years ago today, The Legend of Zelda released on the Famicom in Japan. 30 years. The Zelda series is now probably married, maybe thinking about a couple kids, and stuck in a dead-end job. Meanwhile, I'm at 5,000 subscribers, so thank you for that. What better way to celebrate both of these things than looking forward to the next title in the series, and what it could learn from one of the most iconic Zelda games, Ocarina of Time. Phew, we're back. Sorry about the wait. I've been trying to balance social life, college, work, training for my black belt and YouTube, and failing, so let's get down to business. Ocarina of Time, a game many consider to be the best in the Zelda franchise, and even the greatest video game of all time. Released on the largest capacity cartridge Nintendo had produced at the time of its release, a 256 megabit or 32 megabyte cart, Ocarina of Time was a mind-blowing experience for Zelda fans at launch, and to many, it still is. Pinpointing what Zelda U should learn from this beloved game is too big a feat for one man alone, so today I'm joined by HMK to bring you 5 things that the upcoming Wii U game could learn from Ocarina of Time.
What Zelda U can learn from this esteemed title is important because they both share a major goal: change. While it's arguable that Ocarina stuck true to A Link to the Past's formula, it's undeniable that the Zelda team undertook a monstrous challenge in making the jump of one of their most beloved franchises from 2D to 3D. This is a feat many series have tried to perform and failed.
Like Bubsy. Poor Bubsy.
And now, 18 years after its initial release, Zelda U is set to follow in Ocarina's footsteps by making large changes to the Zelda formula. Aonuma wants to break free from the conventions of the series, changing up many central aspects of the franchise, such as dungeons, bosses, and item usage.
Aonuma has mentioned in interviews that the concept of the item will be different in Zelda U, and this parallels how item usage was a big part of the Zelda experience that was affected, again, by the jump from 2D to 3D. Ocarina was forced to reinvent the use of items. Sure, A Link to the Past had the bow, the hookshot, etc., but it only allowed for use of these items in a 2D space. Adding a Z, or Z for you Americans, axis to the Zelda formula was a daunting task, since items function very differently in Ocarina than they did in the 1991 classic.
It is no overstatement to say that Ocarina was an incredibly revolutionary title. It featured many things that we take for granted in games today, such as Z-targeting and the context-sensitive A button. And as well as introducing new features, it also simply did what it tried to do really well. It had a great story, beautiful and fitting music, and excellent mechanics, all neatly packed into one of the largest worlds of its time.
Exactly, so today we're going to list 5 things that Zelda U could learn from the first 3D Zelda in order to do this revolutionary video game justice. Number 5. A fantastic tutorial. Ocarina has a short and gripping tutorial or opening segment. You get the Kokiri sword and Deku shield, then take on the inside of the Great Deku Tree and Queen Goma. Simple. In fact, from pressing start to delivering the final blow to the first boss of the game, I took 26 minutes. This first dungeon serves to both start the plot of the game and teach you game mechanics. In this 26 minutes, I'd got a sword, a shield, a few basic items, had a taster of the dungeon layouts, a basic introduction to combat, and a nice bit of easy puzzle solving, as well as some plot thrown in for good measure. I know I've said before in my Link to the Past video that I want Zelda U to have a short introduction sequence, but I'd go as far to say that the opening of Ocarina of Time is the best opening of any Zelda game. If you don't really understand where I'm coming from, it's probably just because you don't really consider it a tutorial. You just drop straight into the world and begin your adventure as the hero of time. An introductory section that does this in Zelda U will provide a strong start to Link's grandest adventure yet. It seems that at the start of Link's adventure, see my analysis here for evidence that this is the start of the game, Link already has a decent amount of equipment. So hopefully the introductory section is quick, yet provides Link with the tools he needs to take on the new Hyrule. Number 4. an active role for Princess Zelda. The damsel in distress role for Nintendo's ladies is played out. Sure, it's a really easy way to shoehorn in some sort of goal for Link or Mario. Blah blah blah, the princess is captured, blah blah blah. But after 30 years, the Nintendo girls have become far too iconic to simply be the goal at the end of a quest. Sure, Zelda gets captured at the end of Ocarina, but that's only because she decides to drop her badass disguise as the ninja-esque Sheik. Couldn't she just have told Link she was Zelda rather than go all out with earrings and whatever? Either way, Sheik is undoubtedly one of the coolest versions of the eponymous princess we've seen in the series. From mysteriously appearing and disappearing with Deku Nut explosions, to her incredible agility and speed, to her super fast, lagless fare. Wait, we're talking about Zelda games. In Ocarina, Princess Zelda has an active role as Sheik. Zelda U's princess should have an equally involved role in the plot, and making her as cool as Sheik would be an awesome bonus. Tetra in The Wind Waker was another great example of an active Zelda who was heavily involved in the plot and could hold her own. Zelda U needs another top tier iteration of the princess. Number 3.
Contrasting light and dark areas. Ocarina was such a jolly game, full of bright areas and happy music. Who could forget the childish wonder of the Kokiri Forest, or the soothing, peaceful Kakariko Village? Oh wait, it's not soothing and peaceful, it's literally built on top of 2 winding labyrinth torture dungeons, full of blades, cages, and pools of blood. And Dead Hand, the reason for many a sleepless childhood night. The reason why the dark areas in Ocarina of Time were so effective is because they contrasted well with the bright atmosphere elsewhere. Going from the relaxing Kakariko straight into the eerie bottom of the well is a sudden change, and it really makes the darker areas of the game stand out. The same can be said for Hyrule Castle. Sneaking around the guards feels exciting, but you know it's not really that serious. The music, the bright white walls, and the neatly trimmed hedges all perfectly capture the feeling of a child sneaking around where he shouldn't be. However, it soon changes to the ominous Ganon's Tower. The guards no longer escort you off the premises. They hit you with battle axes. We've seen peaceful landscapes and bright fields in Zelda U so far. Hopefully, we'll also see some contrasting dark places in the nooks and crannies of the new Hyrule.
Number 2. Intelligent villain who outplays Link. Ocarina Ganondorf plays Link by allowing him to gather the spiritual stones in the Ocarina of Time. Link believes he has the upper hand on Ganondorf because he obtains the Master Sword, only to learn Ganondorf followed him into the Sacred Realm and stole the Triforce of Power. This means that Link's heroic actions in saving the Deku Tree, the Gorons, Ruto and Lord Jabu Jabu were in vain, since it ultimately plunged Hyrule into 7 years of torment under Ganondorf's rule. When this happens, it's not just Link that gets played. As a player, you feel outsmarted. You've been stomping around Hyrule doing heroic deeds, and just as you get the Blade of Evil's Bane ready to kick some green ass, the game hits you in the face with a massive plot twist. Surprise, Ganon wins. An intelligent villain in Zelda U would make the plot more interesting, as opposed to a brain-dead monster like Downfall Timeline Ganon. It will make the plot feel faster paced and more interesting if you're aware that the villain is constantly trying to outthink you. This sort of thing is why I prefer Girahim to Demise as a villain. Ocarina Ganon was a great villain, the likes of which we need to see again in the Wii U title. Number 1. It needs to be revolutionary. Even when it was first revealed as a tech demo, Zelda 64 made its mark on the gaming community as one of the first true 3D adventure games. And man, was it a good one to start with. We've already covered before how many things Ocarina introduced that we take for granted today, and I hope Zelda U can somehow follow in the footsteps of the N64 classic and bring a bunch of new features to the table that years from now we'll still be using. Aonuma has said Zelda U will have a twist on the open world formula, items and bosses will be different. Zelda U is really shaking up the Zelda experience, and let's hope what we get this year will truly leave its mark on not just the series, but gaming in general. It's with good reason that Ocarina is looked back upon as one of the best games of all time. I think it was so revolutionary not just because of the genius things it did, but just because everything it set out to do, it did so well. The music, visuals and story are all incredible for its time. If Zelda U is to do this game justice, it needs to be a rounded experience that truly nails everything it tries to do. Thanks for watching this video, and thank you to HMK for joining me on this one. If you'd like to check out his channel, please check here. And if you're wondering, us Zelda YouTubers now have a collaborative group known as the Chamber of Sages. It includes HMK, McIntyre Productions, Commonwealth Realm, Zelda Master, Zelda Conqueror, Vortexy Gaming, Dr. Wily, Game Over Jesse and myself. Check us out. And if you fancy watching me play through Ocarina of Time, head on over to my gameplay channel Zeltik Plays where the first episode is up. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.